you ever wondered why you're so close to success, only to sabotage yourself at the last moment? You're about to land that dream job, but somehow you show up late to the interview. Your relationship is perfect until you pick a senseless fight. Your business is thriving until you make a careless decision that costs you everything. This isn't random bad luck or coincidence. There's a darker truth at play. Carl Jung, one of the most profound psychologists in history, discovered something terrifying about the human mind. He called it the shadow self, and it's the hidden force behind your self-destruction. Today, we're diving deep into Jung's forbidden knowledge about why you consistently destroy your own success, and more importantly, how to stop it. This isn't comfortable knowledge, but it's power that few possess. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll understand the war happening inside your mind and have the weapons to win it. The shadow self doesn't want you to watch this video. It thrives in darkness and anonymity. Yet here you are, about to shine a light on it. That takes courage. Let's begin. Before we dive into the mechanics of self-sabotage, we need to understand what Carl Jung discovered about the human psyche. Jung wasn't like other psychologists of his time. While they focused on observable behavior, Jung ventured into the darker, unexplored territories of the mind. What he found was disturbing, yet illuminating. According to Jung, the human psyche is divided into several parts. There's the conscious mind, the part you're aware of right now as you watch this video. There's the personal unconscious, where your memories and personal experiences reside. But then there's something far more sinister. The shadow. The shadow self contains everything you've rejected about yourself. It's the warehouse of your denied emotions, repressed impulses, shameful desires, and unacknowledged fears. It's everything you've deemed unacceptable, everything you refuse to see in yourself. But Jung's critical insight was this: just because you don't acknowledge the shadow doesn't mean it isn't there. In fact, the more you deny it, the stronger it grows. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, Jung warned. Think about that. The parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge are secretly controlling your decisions, your behavior, your life, and you mistake this internal sabotage for external bad luck. The shadow isn't evil, it's just unconscious. It's like a child acting out for attention. But its methods can be destructive, especially when you're on the verge of success. Why? Because success requires change, and the shadow fears change above all else. It prefers the familiar, even if the familiar is failure, pain, or mediocrity. Consider this. When you're about to succeed, you're about to transform into someone new. Your identity will shift, your life circumstances will change, and that terrifies the shadow because it represents the unknown. The shadow would rather keep you safely unsuccessful than risk the uncertainties of success. This is why you might find yourself procrastinating on that business proposal that could change everything. It's why you might pick a fight with your supportive partner right before a major life event. It's why you might sabotage a diet just as you start seeing results. Your shadow is fighting to maintain the status quo, even when the status quo is hurting you. Jung observed that the shadow manifests in projection as well. When you irrationally hate someone, it's often because they embody qualities you've banished to your own shadow. They're holding up a mirror to parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge. This is why some of the most vocally anti-something people are secretly struggling with that very thing themselves. The shadow knows no logic, only self-preservation through denial. But here's what makes Jung's discovery so powerful. Once you're aware of the shadow, you can begin integrating it. Not by surrendering to its destructive impulses, but by acknowledging its existence and understanding its fears. The shadow loses power when exposed to light. This is the first step toward stopping the cycle of self-sabotage. Now let's look more closely at the specific ways your shadow might be destroying your success. The mechanisms are subtle but devastating. The first mechanism is fear of failure disguised as procrastination. Your conscious mind says, I want to succeed at this project. Your shadow whispers, but what if you fail? Better not to try at all. So you delay, you find distractions, you convince yourself you'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes and the opportunity passes. The second mechanism is fear of success itself. This might sound counterintuitive, but success brings responsibility, visibility, and expectations. Your shadow might whisper, if you succeed, people will expect more from you next time. You'll be exposed as a fraud. Better to fail now than fall from a greater height later. So you sabotage yourself just before the finish line. The third mechanism is unworthiness. Perhaps as a child you internalized messages that you don't deserve good things. Your shadow holds these beliefs and enforces them mercilessly. When success approaches, your shadow reminds you, this isn't for people like you. You don't belong here. So you make mistakes that confirm this belief, reinforcing the cycle. The fourth mechanism is identity protection. If you've built your identity around struggling or suffering, success threatens who you believe you are. Your shadow asks, if you're not the underdog anymore, who are you? This identity crisis feels more threatening than failure, so you unconsciously ensure you remain in the familiar role. The fifth mechanism is relationship sabotage. Success often changes your social dynamics. Your shadow fears abandonment or rejection, warning, if you outshine your friends or family, they'll resent or leave you. So you downplay your achievements or create conflicts that keep you firmly anchored in your current social position. Jung observed that the shadow can even sabotage through physical symptoms, mysterious illnesses, accidents, or injuries that conveniently appear right before important opportunities aren't always coincidental. The mind has enormous power over the body, and the shadow knows how to use it. Perhaps most insidious is what Jung called the failure trance, a state where you go through the motions of pursuing success while unconsciously ensuring you don't achieve it. You take all the right actions, but with a subtle energetic sabotage that others can't see, but that guarantees disappointment. It's like driving with one foot on the brake. These mechanisms are powerful precisely because they operate outside your awareness. Your conscious mind genuinely wants success, while your shadow covertly ensures it remains out of reach. This internal conflict drains your energy and leaves you confused about why you can't seem to break through despite your best efforts. But Jung didn't just identify the problem. He developed methods to overcome it. The shadow may be formidable, but it isn't invincible. With the right psychological tools, you can integrate your shadow and end the cycle of self-sabotage. The first step is shadow recognition. You must acknowledge that your shadow exists and identify how it manifests in your life. Start by examining patterns of self-sabotage. When have you been on the verge of success only to mysteriously fail? What emotions came up during those times? What were you afraid of? Journal about these instances, looking for recurring themes. Pay attention to your dreams as well. Jung believed dreams are the primary way the unconscious communicates with the conscious mind. When your shadow appears in dreams, it often takes the form of figures you fear, despise, or feel uncomfortable around. These dream characters can provide valuable insights into disowned aspects of yourself. The second step is shadow acceptance. This doesn't mean acting on destructive impulses, but rather acknowledging them without judgment. Say to yourself, I notice I'm afraid of succeeding. This is my shadow at work. This simple acknowledgement begins to integrate the shadow into consciousness, reducing its covert power. The third step is shadow dialogue. Jung recommended actively conversing with your shadow through a technique called active imagination. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and imagine your shadow as a figure sitting across from you. Ask it directly, why do you sabotage my success? What are you afraid of? Then listen without censoring the responses. You might be surprised by the wisdom that emerges. The fourth step is shadow integration. Once you understand your shadow's fears, you can address them consciously. If your shadow fears the responsibility of success, create systems to manage that responsibility. If it fears rejection, build a support network that celebrates your achievements. Integration isn't about eliminating the shadow. It's about bringing it into harmony with your conscious goals. The fifth step is consistent shadow work. This isn't a one-time exercise, but an ongoing practice. The shadow is elusive and will find new ways to operate as you integrate its known aspects. Commit to regular reflection, especially when you notice self-sabotage patterns emerging. Jung emphasized that shadow work isn't just about avoiding self-sabotage, it leads to psychological wholeness. When you integrate your shadow, you access energy that was previously consumed by internal conflict. You become more authentic, more creative, and paradoxically, more ethically sound, because you're no longer projecting disowned qualities onto others. This work isn't easy. The shadow fights integration because its survival depends on remaining unconscious. You'll face resistance, discomfort, and the temptation to return to blissful ignorance. But as Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Practical techniques to support this process include mindfulness meditation, which helps you observe your thoughts without attachment. This creates space between you and the shadow's impulses. Regular journaling about triggers, emotions, and self-sabotage incidents builds self-awareness. Working with a therapist trained in Jungian psychology can provide guidance for deeper shadow exploration. One powerful exercise is to list your judgments about others. The qualities that trigger strong reactions in you often reflect disowned aspects of yourself. If you despise laziness in others, your shadow might contain repressed desires for rest or relaxation. If someone's confidence infuriates you, your shadow might harbor unacknowledged ambitions. Another technique is the shadow mission. Identify a goal your shadow sabotages, then create a smaller version specifically for your shadow. If your main goal is building a business, your shadow mission might be a small, low-risk project where failure has minimal consequences. This gives your shadow a constructive outlet while you pursue larger goals. Physical practices like martial arts, intense exercise, or dance can help integrate shadow energies through the body. These activities provide controlled expression for aggressive or passionate impulses the shadow might otherwise use destructively. Remember, the goal isn't to destroy the shadow, but to transform its energy from saboteur to ally. When integrated, the shadow's passion, power, and depth add tremendous richness to your life and work. Jung observed that people who successfully integrate their shadows don't just stop self-sabotaging, they access a level of authentic charisma and creative power that the unintegrated can only envy. This is why shadow work, though challenging, offers rewards far beyond mere success. The dark truth about why you destroy your own success isn't that you're broken or incapable. It's that you're divided against yourself. Your conscious mind pushes forward while your shadow pulls back. This internal war exhausts your resources and ensures neither side wins. But now you know what Carl Jung discovered, that the shadow exists, how it operates, and how to begin integrating it. This knowledge puts you ahead of most people, who remain mystified by their own self-sabotage patterns throughout their lives. As we conclude this exploration of Jung's shadow theory, ask yourself, what might be possible if you weren't fighting yourself anymore? What could you achieve if all your energy was moving in one direction? How much more powerful would you be with your shadow as an ally rather than an adversary? The path of shadow integration isn't easy, but it leads to a kind of psychological freedom few ever experience. It transforms you from a divided, self-sabotaging person into a whole, congruent being capable of sustained success. This is the ultimate power Jung's work offers. Not just achievement, but wholeness. If this video has resonated with you, you're already taking the first step, bringing awareness to the shadow. Share in the comments one way you suspect your shadow might be sabotaging your success. This act of acknowledgement is powerful, and our community here can provide insights and support. If you found value in Jung's shadow theory, give this video a like so others can discover it too. Subscribe for more explorations of dark psychology and the hidden forces that shape our lives. Hit the notification bell to ensure you don't miss our next deep dive into the human psyche. Remember, in Jung's own words, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The path to your greatest success lies through the shadow, not around it. Thank you for having the courage to take this journey. Until next time, keep bringing light to the darkness.